like all the other inquisitors today, Senator, I want to thank you for your service, and particularly for your willingness to put yourself through this process to serve your country once again. It's one of my life principles never to take a job where I would have to be confirmed by a legislative body. And you're doing it. I also want to comment, I read one commentator that said the fact that this guy was an enlisted man in Vietnam is nice but not really significant. I think it's very significant. I'm a bit of a student of the Cuban Missile Crisis, the most dangerous moment this country's ever experienced. And anybody that studies that period, it's hard to escape the conclusion that President Kennedy's service on the front lines of World War II and Chairman Khrushchev's service in his army during World War II was a significant influence on their willingness to back away from the nuclear precipice. I think it's very important to have people with your experience in this position. Most of the questions, probably 90% today, have been about policy. But the reality is, as I think you would concede, that the policy comes from the President of the United States. You're certainly going to advise, but that's where the policy comes from. I'd like to ask your thoughts about management, because you're about to take on the world's most cumbersome bureaucracy with a lot of problems and headaches and budgetary challenges. Just share with me some thoughts about how you're going to approach the management of the Department of Defense.
Senator, thank you. I note you were sitting there during the exchange I had with Senator Kaine about some of this, and I would, in answering your question, pick up on a couple of those observations. First, and you too, I know you were a governor, and so you both understand a lot of the pieces of this. No matter how big an organization is, there are still some fundamentals to leadership and management. Now, as you have noted, the Department of Defense is the largest institution, certainly in this country, maybe the world. How then do you try to manage it? Well, it's not about me. The Secretary of Defense, he leads, he advises the President, but it's really about the people who have the accountability and the responsibility to manage every aspect of our defense apparatus. That includes all the officers. I think there were over 50 presidential appointees in the Department of Defense. You have obviously the military, uniformed military, 1.3 million there. So all of these people are required to manage the department. I think a fundamental to me, and I think in answering your question, is accountability. We've had some discussions today about audits. All institutions must be accountable. Elected officials are accountable. We're all accountable. And the emphasis on accountability, I don't think, can ever be overstated. You give managers flexibility, you give them resources, but you give them direction and expectations. And they have to be very clear, very direct, and very defined, but not to the point where you don't want their input and their ability to be flexible with their management. I think that's, in my opinion, Senator, is the key to anything, but surely it is the key to something as large as the Department of Defense. A number of questions were asked of me today about specific programs, submarine programs, different areas of technology and acquisitions, and our superior technology. And I've said I don't know enough about it. I don't. There are a lot of things I don't know about. I, if confirmed, intend to know a lot more than I do. I will have to. But at the same time, I would never think that this, as I said earlier, is about me or I will be running anything. I will be the leader. I'll be responsible. I'll be accountable. But I've got to rely on the right teams, the right people, bring those people together. And again, it's accountability and responsibility. I would stop there, and if that gives you some sense of how I would intend to do this business.
my theory of leadership is hire good people and take credit for what they do. That's my best advice. You're a guy from Nebraska. You were in the Army, so I'm imagining that every morning you don't get up and think about the Navy. I hope to correct that over the next few years. Particularly of concern to us right now in Maine and in other parts of the country is the multi-year procurement program, which is in jeopardy because of the budget situation. Your feelings about multi-year procurement and maintaining the industrial base, which we just have to do if we're going to be able to maintain our force.
Governor, you probably know, and Governor Kane does as well, that there is such a thing as the Nebraska Navy. And our governors make these distinguished appointments throughout their career. Our fleet is small but mighty, but that has been my initial early on experience with the Navy. Industrial base, I referenced that in a couple of comments I made earlier today in responding to questions. Absolutely essential to our future that we maintain a strong, growing, credible military industrial base for all the reasons you understand. Certainly Senator Kane does, being from Virginia, and other senators here who have in their states these facilities, and more importantly, private companies that represent our industrial base. How we then prioritize our needs, how we account for and audit contracts, forward procurements, cost overruns, waste, fraud, and abuse, all part of it. This is going to be more and more essential as we are dealing with, as you have noted, a restricted budget. It may be a very restricted budget depending on how things happen on sequestration. The Navy is an indispensable part of our security apparatus. First, it is the one visible projection of power that we have in the world. Obviously, our rebalancing of resources in the Asian Pacific region are some indication of that. Persian Gulf, we were talking, have been talking all day about Iran, about Israel, but specifically Iran in the Persian Gulf. You know, we have our 5th Fleet there in Bahrain. We have 2 carrier battle groups in and out of that small little area. The flexibility, agility, missile defense, nuclear, all those capabilities are within the Navy. So I am a strong supporter of advancing our Navy technology and our efforts, and I will continue to do that if confirmed.
Thank you, Senator. I'll have some more questions at a later time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.